In a world where everyone has their own YouTube channel and podcast, this guy had a YouTube channel but no podcast. Now, here's the guy with zero original ideas.
He's a little girl in big boy pants.
It's Shawn Cash and the Shawn Cash Podcast.
I am racking my brain, but I can't even begin to imagine why you'd make something like this.
All right, it's another Shawn Cash PodCash. Tinkering and tangents. I have no idea. I have a bunch of questions that I did receive from my Patreon followers, and I do have a hard drive that I am looking to take apart, and I have a couple other things that I wanted to share with you. Now, before I get into all of this, I wanted to tell a quick little story. I am trying to learn Fusion 360, and I'm trying to learn it because I have a weird obsession with challenging myself. And if you are a follower of this channel, you probably already know that. I like to try and learn something with the pressure of everybody watching. And that's one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel in the first place, is I wanted to get better at editing videos. And that's what this whole channel has taught me, is trying to get better. I'm still not there yet. I'm surrounded by a bunch of things that I haven't finished, and I've started on the channel. The name of the channel is Try to Finish Something. I'd like to actually start finishing things, as everybody keeps mocking me in the Star Wars Room Builders group. But I want to learn Fusion 360, and I would like to be able to resin print some things. I use Clever 3D Studios for all of my resin printing, and they do a great job of resin printing. And I love that. And I love being able to have them as a partner for things that I need printed. But I would like to model my own things. I collect greeblies and things all the time that I want to use, and I would like to create some of my own greeblies and make those available for those of you that have your own resin printers and be able to do that. And I want to do some stuff with David White and be able to release some for you to use in your projects. And I was contacted, I have a small channel, I was contacted by a resin printer company, and they were super nice. I'm gonna start taking this hard drive apart. So they were super nice, and they offered to supply me with a used resin printer. They said, hey, you know, we want to kind of dabble in the small channels, and they didn't say it that way. They were actually very nice. So they said, we'd like to provide you with a resin printer to try out, but we're going to send you a used one. And I was fine with that. I don't care if it's used. I don't care if it's new. It didn't matter to me. And I thought the offer was nice. I had to pay for the shipping, but they sent me one of their large volume resin printers for me to use and to tinker with on the channel. And I didn't have to do anything for it. I didn't have to promise to promote them a certain amount of times. I was just supposed to use it. And I thought that was really cool. I really appreciated the gesture. The problem is, first of all, it took a long time to get here. And when it finally did get here, the box was thrashed on the outside. And I was nervous, and I was going to do an unboxing video. Ooh, speaking of which, never mind. I'm getting sidetracked on my tangent. I was going to do an unboxing video, and I stopped because the resin printer inside was shattered. It was bent, and it was in multiple pieces. And I sent them a bunch of pictures, and I said, hey, this is what arrived. First of all, it took a long time, and here's what finally arrived. And they said, oh, wow, that's awful. Sorry about that. We don't want the printer back. You can keep the resin printer, but if you'd like to buy replacement parts for it, we'd be happy to send you replacement parts so that you can get it up and running. And I thought, okay, maybe. What does that cost? So I inquired at the price of the different things that I needed to repair it, because there's this arm that goes from the bottom to the top that the print bed slides up. That was bent. There was the entire plastic shroud that was completely thrashed. And I wasn't going to be able to use any of that. And so by the time I started talking to them about replacement parts, and they said, oh yeah, we'll get it to you at our cost. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe. And then when I started adding it all up, it was like over $500 in things that needed to be replaced. And I thought, well, this now seems less like a great deal than it originally was. And so I said, hey, you know what? Never mind. Not interested. Thank you. And they said, well, go ahead and keep it. So I was disappointed, but again, not their fault. Didn't blame them. And I don't want to mention their name because I honestly don't hold anything against them. They were just trying to be nice and it just didn't work out. So I decided, well, I'm obviously not going to wind up with a resin printer, but I had another company that I am going to use one of their resin printers, and no deal. I don't have to do anything for this company. They're not asking for anything. I'm not promising anything. So I will, when I get that resin printer, I will use that and let you know what I think of it, because there's no contractual obligation to like it or not like it. So I'll let you know what I think of that resin printer, and I will get Fusion 360 down, and I will try and get some files available so that I can print my own Greeblies and I can make them available to you as well. A quick Greebly side note. I'm never going to get to these questions. a quick Greebly tangent. I spend a lot of time on eBay trying to find Greeblies and purchasing Greeblies on eBay. And I wound up, why isn't this coming apart? I wound up in a bidding war with someone that I have a feeling was one of you nerds, just like me. And I lost the bid. It was a camping lantern, and the guy was only asking $5. And so I bid $5. And then he says, hey, somebody else made a bid on it. I went up in a bidding war and it got up over $12.50 and I just let it go. And you're welcome, because I know that it's one of you Star Wars nerds like me. And I felt okay losing, knowing that it was going to be somebody else's prop. And I'm okay with that. I'm trying to be okay with that. So when I finally get that resin printer, I will use it on the channel and I'll let you know what I think of it. And if you're in the market for a resin printer, consider this research that I'm sharing with you. So, ooh, speaking of, all right, sorry. I'm never going to get this thing taken apart. Another thing that I wanted to share is a gentleman by the name of Kevin. Oh, wait, I should probably, hold on. Let me black out some addresses here. A gentleman on Facebook in the Star Wars Room Builders group by the name of Kevin Conca. Kevin is a guy who has been building and putting together some amazing Star Wars banners, some signs, and I've been super impressed. I know that Brian from the Smuggler's Room has purchased one. I know that my address is on here a lot of times. I know that Dennis has purchased one. He makes replications of some of the signs that you see in Galaxy's Edge, and he'll also do custom ones for you. So I did reach out to him and say, I said, hey, I would like a couple of these signs. Sorry. I should probably pre-prepare these. So I did ask him to put together some signs for me that I can have in the background. Protocol 13 Props is the name of his Facebook page. It's his Instagram, and he is doing some amazing work. And I haven't even seen these yet, and I purchased some, and I would really like to see them. And I wanted to do it live with everyone else. I'm just trying to cut this without ruining something. All right, so far these are awesome. I haven't even seen these yet. They are reasonably priced, and my God, these are awesome. So this is the Imperial flag that I wanted that is seen inside. Good God, Kevin, these are amazing. This is the Imperial flag that is seen inside Galaxy's Edge. The material on this, oh my God, that's a work of art. That is some amazing weathering. If you are trying to put together your own banners, this should be your model. This is amazing. So I wanted one that was going to be Imperial, and I wanted one that was going to be custom. And I haven't seen them. We'll all be watching at the same time. Oh, see, that's perfect. So I wanted them to go together. The TTFS, try to finish something. That is amazing. These are awesome. Kevin, you have outdone yourself. So if you are trying to put together, yeah, I'll just throw that there. If you are trying to get yourself some Star Wars banners, that's fantastic. Those are some good looking banners. Those are going to go behind me. This window over here is going to get covered, and I'm going to do some sort of a sign there, and these will have a home, hopefully very soon. All right, back to what I was trying to do. So now, questions. I have no idea how you guys watch this. This is so random and all over the place. All right, so I have some questions here. Let me get some of these questions out as I'm still trying to figure out why I cannot get this stupid drive apart. I've taken a bunch of these apart before to get to the goodies on the inside, and every one of them is a little bit different because they're all different brands that I wind up getting. So, questions. I'm going to get to some of these questions, or I'm never going to get there. I am curious how you record your audio for your podcasts and for your videos. I try and do something similar to what you do with a voiceover and a live recording, but it sounds choppy and awful. I also might be overthinking it, but I thought I would ask you for some advice. So this is kind of weird. For whatever reason, lately I've been getting a lot of YouTube video questions from people that are obviously starting up their own channel or trying to tinker with the quality of their own channel. Garland has asked some questions. I had Kyle ask a couple questions about recording. And when I started out, I asked a lot of people too. And I found that the YouTube community, for the most part, was super helpful in giving advice. I reached out to Odin of Odin Makes, Brian from the Smuggler's Room, James from Rebel Base Builds, Wesley Treat. He's a guy who makes some amazing signs. I reached out to him, and all of them responded and were super helpful with advice. And, well, at least those four were. And I really appreciated them trying to help me. I mean, YouTube is a huge platform, and there is room for all of us. So it's not like when I was in radio, there was a lot of competition, and no one liked to share secrets and things like that because everyone was competing for those same people. But YouTube is such a cool platform. There's plenty of room for all of us out there. And all right, one more quick tangent. So I'm hard to watch television with. When I was in radio, I would constantly stop what was playing on TV and record little sound bites off it because I used to use them on my radio show. I would take that audio and I would make those into little sound clips, like in the beginning of my show where I use audio from television. And now I have a different issue. I wind up stopping mostly reality shows. My kids watch a lot of Making the Cut and America's Next Top Model and all of these kind of shows. And the part that drives me crazy is bad audio quality. And I try my best not to do it. And what I mean by that is you will be watching a clip of the show and Heidi Klum will be talking, and then the camera will be off Heidi Klum and it'll be on one of the contestants. And there's a voiceover that says something else that says, I mean, they're talking about what the prizes are for watching the show. And then it will cut to the contestants and then she'll say, one of the other prizes you win is a $100,000 or whatever it happens to be. And obviously what happened was when they were filming the show, they didn't have that additional prize. And then they got that prize and they needed to cut that into the show somewhere. And as somebody who worked in audio for so long, it's glaringly obvious where they do that. The sound quality is different and it sounds bad. It sounds off, at least to me. And I overly criticize those kind of things, much to the enjoyment of my family, who really don't care. But as I'm watching these, I try and apply that to my own stuff on my YouTube channel and try and make sure that I get the audio right. I try and do these in one take if possible. And I have a bit of an advantage because I've worked in radio so long. So I'm able to talk for a long period of time, probably too long. And I am able to do it in maybe 1 or 2 takes. But what I try and do is this, and they call it in filming ambient sound. So when I record something, if I was recording this to YouTube, what I would do is I would stop talking, which is really hard for me. I would stop talking and just record the sound of the room like this. And I would let that roll for a while because you don't necessarily pick it up, but there are noises that happen in every room. There are just sounds of air conditioning units and things that are in the room. And that is the ambient sound. And I take that sound and I create a file of just that sound. And the reason that some of those shows sound off is it was obviously recorded somewhere else. It wasn't recorded at the same place as that took place, as that filming was happening. And the part that makes it really noticeable is the background noise is different. So I take that ambient sound, and if I'm making I don't know why I'm sharing all this detail. If I'm giving away all my secrets. If I am doing a cut, I try not to do it at a natural place. Here. And then something else. I try and make my edit in the middle of a sentence instead of at the end. Because at the end of a sentence, your mind is starting to pick up, okay, that's the end of that thought, and here's another. And so I try and edit in the middle of a sentence so that your brain's not looking for something to be different. And I try and use some of that ambient sound where I fade it up before the edit and then fade it back at the same point that I am making that audio edit. So, for instance, in that sentence that I just said, I said audio edit. And there were pauses in those words. And if I was trying to record over this again, I would start and say audio edit, and then I would keep talking. And I would go in between those words where your brain wasn't looking for something to be different. I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're asking, and I'm not sure that is it, but hopefully that is helpful in some way. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions about sound or anything else. I am a giant nerd, and I'm happy to be as helpful as possible. And I hope that was helpful. All right, I have another one. I hate to admit how much I enjoy watching your videos. I will be honest, I will probably never build a Star Wars prop. I think about it all the time. I just know my level of commitment, and it's not going to happen. I love the stories and tangents. Thank God, because this is nothing but tangents. And I love watching the progress. A while back, you showed some footage and told stories about being on Star Trek Voyager. Yes, I did. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link up here so that you can watch that. But it was another PodCash, I believe. That had to be amazing to be on the show. I love most sci-fi, and I'm a big fan of that show too. All right, here's another tangent for you. I also love Star Trek. I loved Battlestar Galactica, the old and the new, Buck Rogers, V, Roswell, Star Wars. So Star Wars and the original Battlestar Galactica are my favorites because they kind of have that same similar aesthetic. They have that found parts and model kit bashing, and they used all those found parts to make their different sets. And come on, if you watch this channel, you know that Greeblies are my jam. I can't pull that off. But Greeblies are my jam. And as I'm taking this apart, I'm trying to get to the Greeblies inside of this because that's it. I mean, I love Greeblies. I think that Greeblies are what kind of sell that Star Wars aesthetic to me. And it's kind of the same with Battlestar Galactica. They had a similar look and feel, and I love that about both of those shows. I am a big nerd, and I do enjoy both of those. Did I actually answer the question, or did I even get there? No. I never even got to the question. A while back, you showed some footage and told stories about being on Star Trek Voyager. Then on the quickie you did, you talked about some behind-the-scenes hacks and there being duct tape behind the scenes. Could you share a good hack that you saw in person that may not be public knowledge? A good hack that I saw that may not be public knowledge. I'm assuming you mean something that I saw behind the scenes that not everyone knows about. Something as simple as the city itself, where my people lived on the show. It was a basic set that probably wasn't bigger than your living room, and it would simply have a bunch of different angles, and they would shoot from different angles, and they would show different sides of that set. And depending on what side you were seeing, because of all the angles and the little things that they put in there, it looked like a whole different part of the city. And it was a small set. And it looked amazing on the final show. And I was really impressed with the way they used the space. Because it was all just different angles and shooting from different angles. So there's one. Space. So, all right, I got one. So while they were on the Voyager ship, you constantly saw the windows with space outside of them, and you'd see the stars going by, and it wasn't some kind of hyperspace. You would just see the stars slowly going by, and it would take a ton of money to go and digitally put all of the movement of these stars in all of these scenes when they were on the Voyager ship. So what they did is, instead of using those special effects, when they were flying through the stars, they would have empty windows. None of the windows had glass because they didn't want the lights to reflect in the glass, and so they would just be these open holes that were supposed to be the windows on the ship. And let me see if I can get something. All right, here we go. So this is the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but this will be the representation of what they would use on the show. They had these big spools of velvet, and they used velvet, the fuzzy side, because it would absorb the light and wouldn't reflect the light. And so they had these big spools on the outside of the windows of velvet. And if this was the window here and you were looking out into space, this would be the fuzzy side of the velvet. And they took a bunch of glass chips and broken glass and jewels and other things that were really small, and they would glue them all over the velvet. And it would have all these little jewels and things here on the outside. And when you were looking out the window, it had these spools that were motorized, and it would just do this. And as that spool would then gather on this side, and it would just slowly move, and all of these little pieces of glass would catch the light and twinkle. And the lights would make it look like the stars had a shimmer to them, and that little bit of movement gave the illusion that the ship was moving through space. And it was so simple and such a great hack that was obviously cheap, it worked well, and was perfect. They would be able to have movement of a ship without ever having to do anything digitally by just having velvet go by on the windows with little pieces of crushed glass. And I thought that was brilliant, and I thought that was a great use of anti-technology to get the look that they were going for. And I was really impressed with the way they were able to do that. So there's a good hack that I saw on Star Trek that I'm not sure if that's public knowledge or not. All right, let's try and get this thing out of here. So the secret to getting these apart is having the right tools, and I'm not seeing my right set of tools. So these are close. They get most of these out, but there are a couple in here that are the smaller size, and I don't have those. And I am going to have to find my smaller set before I can take all of these out. So I'm going to have to get to that a little bit later on. So, in typical fashion, I'm not going to be able to finish this either. This is a terrible, terrible trend that I am setting. I am not finishing things. I am having a really hard time staying on topic when I'm answering some of these, but I do have a project that I am working on. If you've been watching and following me on Instagram, I have some really cool containers that I've been working with Martine at Dune Sea Outpost to make a new table for my Glowforge. Now, my Glowforge is over here in this super bright window. That window is going to get covered up, and the Glowforge is going to sit on this new table. And let me show you one quick thing. So I was talking about, shocking, another tangent. I was talking about trying to find things on eBay and trying to find cool items that I could use in my Star Wars props. I wind up finding a lot of things like this. This is an old military panel for something that has some cool dials on it, and it has something that I've never seen before. It has this, they say it's a wave meter chart. I don't know if you can see this right here, but it has a place that holds this cool little chart meter that has all of these receivers and Anyway, I'm going to incorporate this into my build because that box is going to be some sort of a transport case like is seen in Galaxy's Edge. Above Galaxy's Edge, over in the food area, there's a ship that is docked, and it has a bunch of storage containers sitting in the open hull of this ship. And my plan is to make my own cargo transport case. That military box that I have is going to become a transport case. And if you follow me on Patreon, I'm going to share a picture of my plan of what that is going to look like. And that's going to probably be in my next build. I know I have a droid that isn't finished. I have a tracking device that isn't finished. But I'm going to finish something. And I think the first thing that I may be finishing is the table for my case. We'll see. I have no idea. I cannot stay focused on a project because I have so many things going on in my head. It's hard for me to get one of them finished, which is the whole reason I started this channel, and I'm failing. But Greeblies are my jam. Greeblies are my jam. All All right. Thank you for watching, everybody. And sorry for failing on taking my hard drive apart. I'll see you next time. I'll try to finish something. I can't believe you made it to the end of that. Those are really hard to watch. You notice I had no idea that the cool new Novastella lights that I have were actually aiming at me. That's why I was pinkish orange. But I did manage to get this little drive out once I found the tools. I don't even know if you enjoy watching those or if I should continue to do them, because for me, they're really hard to watch because they're just raw and natural, and that's just how it is, with no rehearsal, no editing. It's just whatever happens, happens. Even if I can't find the right tools to remove what it is I started with, or if I'm stalling and say and like 90 times. It could be a new drinking game. How many times I say or stammer around inside one of those PodCashes, or every time I take a tangent. But anyway, Novastella lights, my fault, not theirs. I had them aiming at me. I'll put that 10% off code if you want to use it in the description, and I'll pin it to the top of the comments as well. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody who's a Patreon member, and make sure you join my Facebook community, Try to Finish Something. And that's it for this one, and we'll see you next time as we try to finish something.